Hello and welcome to Geekatplay's tutorial on modeling in Hexagon version 2.2. In this tutorial we're going to be creating a model and importing it into the View application, adding texture and rendering it in there. So let's begin by opening Hexagon. Our first shape is going to be a cylinder. We'll just use the cylinder icon. And click somewhere here in the middle, drag it to the side and make it longer. Press the Alt button and use your left mouse button to select the two cylinders, and let's change the sections to about 96 and it will make it smoother. Okay, press enter twice and that will validate our changes to the cylinder, and this will be our base that we have to work with. Next, let's click on select faces, and you can press F2 or just use the mouse here, and let's zoom out a little bit. And we're going to stretch this up by mousing over the arrow and holding down the control button and just stretching it up to add some segments. And we'll maybe just add another. Press control again and add another one until we have something about like this. And you might already recognize this shape from the model we used in some of the other tutorials called the Tree Man or our Tree Guardian. And we're going to be creating something similar to that, but just a little bit simpler version of it. Okay, so this is going to be our trunk, and we're going to add some legs here. Let's zoom into the area we want to work with, and you can select one section, or you can hold down the shift button and just click and drag and it selects more of them. Okay, and this is where our leg is going to go, and you can use the control drag or you can go to the vertex modeling, choose the extend surfaces, and you can see how it's extending here. You can right click on it and decrease the size. See what that does. And click the left button to set it where you want it. Right here. And you'll just stretch it out and click your left mouse and it's almost like drawing. Just adding these segments in. And to change the size you just right click again. We'll just make it a little bit smaller right through here. There we go. And here's our first leg. Okay. Now you can actually select multiple legs and do them all uniformly, but we want them all to look a little bit different, so we're going to do them one at a time. And let's use the same technique and create some more legs and just change their shapes and sizes just a little bit. We just want each one of them to be unique and interesting. So there's the second one. I'm going to add a few more. And to rotate, you hold down the Alt button, and as you're holding that down, you click the left button and just drag it. And if you use the right mouse button, you can drag it up and down. So this is how we navigate around. Okay, let's go ahead and finish our legs here. And again, if you click the right mouse button here, it'll allow you to shrink or expand this. And if you click the left button, it allows you to create another segment. And as I'm finishing up these, I just want to remind you that if you have questions or want to share your work with us, visit our website and post it to the forum. And we'll be happy to answer those questions or interested in seeing the work that you've created. And that web address is www.geekatplay.com. And maybe I'll make this one just a little bit shorter. A little bit interesting. Okay. And maybe we're just going to put one more right here. So you don't necessarily have to make these legs square, just put them where you like to. Just make this one look a little bit rougher. And using these kind of techniques, you can actually create your own trees and things quite easily. Okay, I think that's good for the legs. Okay. Next, we want to make the top look more like a broken tree trunk instead of a cylinder. So let's select, actually what we're going to do is select edges instead of the face. And you could just press F3 to change it to that. Or just use the mouse. And the same thing, if you press Control, you can just stretch it up here. Or if you want, you can select just one point and you can stretch that up. Also notice your arrows have a preference. If you select world, it'll be perpendicular to the world atmosphere, and if you choose the selection, it will bend with your selection. So go ahead and choose which one works best for you. And we're just going to stretch this up, make it look more like a jagged stump. Okay. Some nice shapes like this. Okay, so when you're comfortable with what we have, then let's click and make it solid. And it looks kind of funny here on the back, so what we're going to do is go up to 3D primitives and create another cylinder. Select the top and bottom, and let's make the segments 96 again, and click OK and enter validates it and applies it. Okay. Next, center this cylinder inside the first so that it's slightly smaller than the first. Okay, and stretch it up and position it something like this. Okay. Next, select the surface modeling and the boolean operation. And remember, this is the one that's going to be subtracted, so we're going to click on the boolean and then click on the trunk, and you can see how it's subtracted the shape. Okay, and it's cut off. And that's going to look more interesting. Okay. Now, at this point, I would like to give something a try. Let's go up to the vertex modeling, and I want to just increase the smoothing. And when we click on that, you'll notice how it takes off the hard edges and smooths them out. And it's given it a very interesting look, but it's caused some problems with our shapes. It looks a little bit weird through here. Yeah. So in this case, let's go back and undo that, and we'll just leave it how we had it. Okay. And you know, sometimes depending on how we've modeled it, it can affect those areas. So right now we want to add some spaces for eyes and also add some arms. Okay, and the arms are pretty easy. Let's go up to 3D primitives and create just a box out here in the air. And we'll go to vertex and select edges, and we're just going to do a similar thing that we did for the legs. We're just going to stretch them out and create some segments, and use your imagination, create some shapes that look like an arm and some hands, maybe here. Okay, maybe add some more fingers here. Okay, and maybe one right over here. Okay, and again, let's click smoothness for just this arm, and we'll just put it right here in the side. Okay, and when we press the smoothness, you'll notice right here you want to validate that so it applies. Okay, there's one. We'll create a second. Same thing. And create a box, and click select edge, and then use the vertex modeling. Make some nice shapes. Okay. Doesn't have to be the same as this. Use your imagination. And click on smooth. And just put that right here. And so here we have our little tree monster, basic shapes for it. And again, you could smooth the roots, or let's leave it this way for right now. Let's go to our main trunk, and we're going to, and sometimes if this happens, just press Ctrl Z and escape, and it'll unselect it. Okay. Let's go to our primitives and let's create a couple spheres. We're just going to create one, and we're going to place it, and this is going to be our eyes. So let's place it in like this. Okay? And if you hold down Control and just drag it over, it will duplicate the object, and we'll add our second eye and place it. And we could place some more and add some more details. We're going to just add a mouth next. Use a cylinder, and we'll bump up the sections. And let's widen its mouth. And we'll just shrink it this way, place it like that. Okay. To make it more interesting, let's go to Utilities and Taper, and select this one, and then Taper. Bend it out like this. Go to Surface Modeling and Boolean Operation, and click on the tree, and that just cuts out a mouth. And let's go to Utilities and let's go to Bend. We're going to make this tree come alive by just simply giving it a personality by bending it. And you'll notice we're going to need to reposition the eyes and arms. Okay, so that's simple enough. Just click on them and move them back into position. Okay, let's just add a few more details, maybe some teeth. Just click on points and drag. Just a couple of them. There we go. So here's our tree. Let's save it. And of course you could spend some more time polishing and making it smoother, but this should work for our task. We are finished creating our primitive tree guardian in Hexagon. So let's go up to File, and you want to save it as you normally would and also export it as a wavefront object. And then let's just call this tree man. Okay, save it. And we'll just leave it at the default settings for now. I just noticed we didn't change the names of our different forms, and you'll want to do that so that if you need to go back in and modify anything, you'll know which one you're working with. We'll just name this one left arm. Make sure you press enter so that it actually changes down here. Okay? This will be right arm. This will be left eye. And right eye. And trunk. Enter. Okay. And then we'll export it again. And we'll just overwrite the one we did before. And we're done in Hexagon, so let's close it and let's open View and go up to File and Import Object. And we're going to import our tree man, and let's uncheck Collapse Identical Materials. We don't have any materials right now, so don't worry about that. Let's click Open and OK. So here's our object that's been imported. We're just going to move it and click drop down. And there's a couple things I want you to notice. First of all, the legs, they're not really on the ground. You need to kind of pay more attention as we're creating that in Hexagon and position them a little bit better. And then secondly, if you look a little bit closer, you see we have polygons here, and some objects you might want to smooth those. But with this particular model, we may get some benefit from the lines when we add the bark material. And let's expand our list of sections to our tree man, and you'll notice how important it is to name these and keep them organized so you can tell what you're working with. And let's apply material to the trunk here. So we'll open Materials, and let's select our wood. And we're going to choose the oak bark. And this is available in our Epic Landscape pack. Let's click OK and open our Advanced Material Editor. Make sure the mapping is set to Object Standard and let's set the scale to 1. Okay, and let's preview it. And you can see how the bark is being applied. Let's move our camera closer. And let's move our sunlight up front. And you can see how our bark is actually fitting this very well. And you can see how positioning the sun is very important in making the details show up. Now let's select our arms, and we're going to apply the same material to them. So we'll have a similar look. But we want to set the scale a lot smaller. And that will make the arms look like twigs, and it'll give them finer details and lines. Okay. And let's go back to our trunk and make it a little more interesting. We're going to add a mixed material. And for the second material, let's add the pine wood. I'll make it more fun, and let's go to Influence of Environment and click on Distribution of Materials. And of course we can use our marker colors to see how these two materials are going to blend. Okay, let's change the mixing proportions a bit. And let's smooth it out right through here. That looks pretty good, so let's click OK. And let's take our main camera and move it back so we can see the whole thing and render. During rendering we had a slight system problem, lost a little bit of work. We're caught up now with this model and we're going to just start where we left off. Let's go to our eyes and add a material. And this material is going to be in our advanced materials pack. We're just going to use the cat eye. You can also learn how to create this in our marbles tutorial. And this material will bring a nice shine to our eyes here. And we're finished with this model, so let's go ahead and save it. Go to File and Save Object. Change this tree man to tree man modified. Click Save. We can just adjust it and rotate it and position it. And let's render, and when it's done we'll click OK. One thing you can do to optimize your rendering times is go to Object and Bake to Polygons, and you can set them to high or low. If you want to use it as an ecosystem, you want to set it to low. Click OK. And I wanted to point out how it's converted it to one whole piece rather than several different pieces to our object. I want to go and change the materials to something simple. Let's use a simple material. And then something different for the eyes. Okay. And I just wanted to show you how you can still change the materials separately even though that it is baked as one whole piece. And now when you save this, it will be very small in file size and have very few polygons, and you can use it very well for a ecosystem. This is a nice technique to use for building construction kits where you pre-build your buildings and you bake the polygons and make them one single shape, and then you just reuse it in the ecosystem and not have to worry about using too much memory or too high a polygon count. The big withdraw is that it's now one big mesh or one single model, but it does render much faster. So here's the model we created in Hexagon and applied materials in view, and let's go ahead and render it in view. Okay, maybe move the camera so we can see the whole thing. And here's the final product. And of course you can go ahead and change the materials back if you liked it how it was before with the wood. You just apply wood, or you can apply even something different, like maybe some kind of a rock material. And we'll apply something different for the eyes. So you can play with different types of materials and change it and reuse it over and over again. And thank you for watching this.